hit by Haaland. It was going wide. It hit Hashioka in the face and diverted past the helpless Kaminski. That was in the second minute. In the 43 minutes since, City have had a whole stack of opportunities but never really threatened a second goal. Kaminski's saves have been largely routine, and even though they've had 10 corners, at half-time it is still just City 1, Luton Town 0. Well, let's go back to the studio now, where we can join Ellen Ellard in the company of Bruyne, Horton and David Jones.
Well, thank you, Ali. Lots to talk about in that first half. David, we'll start with the goal. Another early goal for City. Was it a little bit too early, potentially?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And again, I think the guys listening regularly will hear me talk about scoring too early. I think that even if Pep wants or wanted to start this game well, to score within a minute and a half was probably kind of unsettling in a way, because you weren't planning to do it. Even though they've had loads of pressure, I think 5 shots on target in the end, it hasn't been the kind of performance that we would have expected to see in 45 minutes.
Brian, I'm sure a lot of City fans after that early goal expected the floodgates to open, but that hasn't been the case at all, has it?
No, they've defended well. They've still carried on defending in numbers. I mean, to concede an early goal like that is a nightmare, really, because you think, here we go again, and it's been like that. But City haven't really created a real great chance, have they? There's been some blocks, there's been some crosses, but not really created a clear-cut chance. 18
shots, 6 on target.
6 on target.
Yeah, well, a late one just added up. I added it down as 5 as well. You know, did you expect more from City, from the chances that they've had?
If I can just chuck a little bit of psychology in here, and again, this is why the early goal doesn't always work. If you say, like, we can beat this team 5 or 6-0, I think City would fancy they could do this, and having done it in the FA Cup 6-2, they could do it again. But there needs to be a bit of resistance, which you're breaking down, for the opposition to fall apart. And I don't think with a goal after a minute and a half, Luton had anything. So all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're losing 1-0, but we're just going to have to defend. The chances have gone, like Brian said, this isn't where City are able to get through one-on-one against Kaminski, as they did before the goal, ironically. It's where Luton have just got numbers. Luton are happy to head the ball out for a corner in situations where other teams might try and clear it down the field. And it's almost like, I tell you what, let's do corners. We've practiced these. We're not going to concede from these. And he's kind of playing into Luton's hands a little bit.
A word on Kaminski, the keeper. He's had to make some big saves.
I like this guy. I really do like this guy. I feel for him, having been in similar positions in my career where you've had lots to do, making big saves. And let's be right, if he doesn't make the saves, then this is 3 or 4 nil to Manchester City. But I think he's got another 45 minutes of more saves to make.
Big ones?
I hope so, because I like him, yeah.
Do you think he'll be able to keep him out again in the second half, though?
I think he could save every shot the City do in the second half. The question is, can Luton score down the other end? And from what I've seen that first half, I don't think Eddie will make much, if any, saves this game.
Yeah, that's proven to be the challenge. On the break, they just don't seem to have the pace that they need to get down quickly enough down to the other end.
Well, they can't get the ball. That's the biggest problem. They can't get good possession where they could work something and maybe put a great ball through, you know, for someone to run onto. But they just can't get possession. It's very tight because of the system Luton are playing, basically to stop City playing. I mean, Bruyne is spreading it around, isn't he? But there hasn't been enough, from my opinion. Probably Pep will be the same thing. The final ball again. That's the critical thing in football. It's the final ball, and at the moment they haven't produced it.
Guardiola had a good, got that the wrong way. Had a good chance. Scored in midweek.
Yeah.
He's got that confidence there. You know, after finding, you know, his first Manchester City goal, then it seems like he looks like he's in a really confident sort of frame of mind. He's in around the box and he's sending shots towards goal.
He's a good player, and again, a new player that, you know, took a bit of time and everybody's questioning it, you know, but he's a good player. But the bottom line is he should score. Not just, OK, it's a good save. Everybody goes, oh, it's a great save. No, it's not. It's a bad miss. You should score. They've had a couple of opportunities where the final ball, just a little square ball, and they've chosen the wrong option. You know, and Pep will be picking up on that without a doubt, because he wants perfection.
Should Haaland have had a goal or maybe 2?
It's too easy to say yes, and I'm not going to say yes because he is also allowed to miss shots. What I find interesting, again, just listening to Bruyne, which makes it coming from obviously someone who's managed at the highest level. There's a bit where I think that Pep would want Haaland to score both chances, of course. So this is 3-0, he can bring him off. But there's also this bit where he's looking at it and he's going, well, actually, we're not scoring the goals because the goalkeeper's making saves, but we have to keep doing this rather than go, OK, and step off it. Because, like I'm saying, I don't think Eddie's going to make a save, but all he needs is one long ball, one slip, and then Luton get on a one-on-one and score. And 1-1 is a very, very bad position for Manchester City to be in. So Haaland shouldn't have had to have scored. He's allowed to miss chances, but City are going to have to create more chances and keep creating chances, even if Kaminsky ends up being player of the match.
Seems to be at times a little bit of miscommunication in the box between Manchester City players. We saw it a couple of times where one of them's got the ball maybe just maybe a couple of yards in front of them, and then someone else is running in, and just seems like it's not completely clicking there. What do you think Pep will be saying at half time?
It's hard to get when every single player is in their last probably 40 yards, apart from the City keeper, and everybody's in there, so where the space is. So it's got to be an absolutely fantastic ball to break them down. Maybe a long shot would be an option. But they've created enough opportunities to have scored more, without a doubt. And as Jamo said, that how often can they get out? Because they've only got the lad up there on his own. So what do you do? And it's generally two defenders against one, always as a professional defenders. How do you get out? That's the biggest problem for sides that come here. How do you get out? Because you can't make that many passes in your own half. Maybe because you're not that type of team. It's a difficult one. Rob Edwards will be delighted with that score after conceding after 2 minutes. He'll be going in there happy with
1-0. Like 1-0
He'll be happy
down.
going in there 1-0 down. Let me tell you, he'll be happy with that, without a doubt. So will he make changes now to say, right, OK, come on, we've got nothing to lose now. Do I put another forward on? Do I take a chance? Which, in my opinion, you have to, because they've got to score. Simple as. If City win 1-0, Pep will be happy. They've got the 3 points, clean sheet. They've got to score. Luton have got to score without a doubt. They've got to come out.
Why do you disagree with that point about Rob Edwards not being maybe is happy a bit of a stretch?
Yeah, happy is a big stretch. Yeah, I think because ultimately, other than the deflected goal, City. Kaminsky's made some saves, granted, but none of them have been the best save of the season. It's not like to say City.
You would have claimed though, Jamo. You would have claimed them as good saves.
No, I would have been happy. But the point being is that the goal has come in such a fortuitous way. Yeah. It hasn't come through the design of Manchester City. And Rob's probably looking at it going, we're 1-0 down in a game where we've worked or planned to defend. And the one moment through the unfortunate incident has put us behind. I don't want to be in this position. We should be at 0-0 because Luton at 0-0 at half-time is quite a regular scoreline, like I said before. Yeah. And they've worked hard. The second half, this is where Luton let themselves down, unfortunately. Things start falling apart. So I don't think Rob's happy with a 1-0 half-time.
No, happy is probably the wrong word, but to go in more. Now they've got an opportunity to come out.
It's better than 3, of course.
to come out and say, right, we can have a go now. Shall we go with 2 wingers? Shall we go and play 2 strikers? Shall we have a 4-2-4 and have a go and open up? Because they've got to score a goal. They've got to get a goal. Simple as.
There's a saying, I don't know if you've heard this, the 10-minute game. And it's like Luton. We're talking a lot about Luton here. I think it's because we know what City are going to do in a lot of ways. But there's like a 10-minute game for Luton, where they're going to be stubborn, and in the last 10 minutes, if they're at 1-0, that's when they go for it. The 10-minute game for Man City, I think, is the first 10 minutes of the second half, where Pep will need them to score, so he can make these adjustments in personnel.
Do you think, obviously, Brian, you've said that you think Luton have to come out now, make the changes and be a little bit more attacking. Do you see that happening, David, or do you think they're just going to sit back and just try and continue to weather? Do they have the personnel to, go out? And we've seen already that they haven't exactly got the pace. So will it just be a case of sitting in and trying to weather the storm?
Yeah, I think, as I say, you make it a 10-minute game. I don't think Luton are going to come here at any stretch to try and win the game. I don't think they've got that sort of delusion in a sense, but they could get a draw from a 1-0 position. So for the next 35 minutes, you basically do what you did in the first half for 45 minutes, 44 minutes, and then that last 10 minutes you say, well, we can't lose 1-0, we have to get something out of the game, then you go for it. City will be frustrated if it's still 1-0 with 10 minutes to go, and you could take advantage of that frustration. That's the only way Luton, I can see, getting anything out of this game.
So with that in mind, what does City need to continue to do? 9 corners. What do they need to do
Get better
from the corners, Brian, to get it in the back of the net?
They can't do much more, can they, apart from what you've said and what you expect from top players and top forwards, top midfield players, is the final ball. That's what's critical about them being the final ball. In a couple of occasions, you know, I think Doku got to a great position, and you've got to pick somebody out. Just square, a little square, it might only be 5 yards, 10 yards, but it's got to be better from City's point of view.
You said about Pep and when he makes his changes pre-match. Do you think he'll make changes? I know we don't tend to see them straight away after kick-off. It's a little bit after the 60 minute, sort of towards 65-minute mark. Do you think we'll see him make changes?
Yeah, I think Pep wants to get... There's a lot of things that Pep wants to get out of this game, weirdly, because of the game against Real Madrid. And one of those is possibly Kevin De Bruyne getting time, Haaland getting goals, all these sort of little nuances. Just quickly jumping back on what do they do, it's not the corners. I think if you drop Kevin De Bruyne a bit deeper, keep him deep, get him on the ball and shoot, Luton have to go and close him down.
Yeah.
Then you can start passing. Doku running at players actually congests the box, which is already quite congested.
Yeah.
So he's kind of using the long range shooting, first of all to try and score maybe, and Kevin De Bruyne's not a bad one from distance, but then also just to split up and break up Luton. Then you get your 2 early goals, then you can start making your substitutions.
Is the key making the game a little bit more open and allowing that space in the box, Brian?
Yeah, from City's point of view, I mean, Doku, before they scored, and it's like first minute, isn't it? He should have pulled it back for De Bruyne. Chose the wrong option, and that's what happens sometimes. You get a little bit frustrated. Not frustrated after a couple of minutes, but after 44 minutes, you're getting a bit frustrated because you haven't got that second goal. You can not ease off, but he might, as you said, bring Kevin De Bruyne off. Looking at the Madrid game, who else will he bring off? Will he bring a centre back off? Diaz plays a lot of games. You know, would he? Listen, at the moment it's 1-0. Luton have done okay to stay in the game. City are winning, which we all thought they would. So it's not gone the way we thought it would because everybody thinks it's going to be an avalanche, and it's not like that.
What I'd love is for the City fans to start celebrating and cheering and sort of getting the atmosphere going again, because there is, and again, it's obvious, but there's this part, it's kind of, it's Luton, we're going to win. It's kind of like, okay, we'll turn up, and it becomes a bit mundane. I think if the fans start getting excited, the players like, okay, actually we're all in this to win and put on a show. I'm saying this to the detriment of Luton, of course, but that's what needs to happen.
I think you know, City fans will probably be feeling that. If you could pick a game at the start of the season, potentially, I'm not saying maybe after seeing how many goals that Luton have scored, particularly against big teams, you probably would have picked Luton at home in between those 2 Real Madrid ties. But again, it's making it feel like a big game. We've had those 2 big games either side. It's boosting, bringing that atmosphere up again.
They're all big games, no matter whether you're playing Luton, who are near the bottom, or Real. They're all big games at this level. When you think that Foden's not playing, Bernardo Silva, who's a fantastic footballer, creates, so they're missing that a little bit with those 2. So I don't think he'll make many changes at this present time, is he?
We can see the players in the tunnel. Before we hand over to commentary, David, just one last question. How important is it that Haaland gets a goal before Real Madrid come back here in midweek?
I don't think... he doesn't need to score. This is the thing. Erling Haaland does not need to score. And what really winds me up is people saying, oh, he's hit a dip of form. He does not need to score in this game. Man City just need to win. And if he scores in them winning, then everyone's happy. There's Pep. Good.
Well, the players making their way back out, and time to hand you back over to your commentary team for the second half. It's Nicky Weaver, who's alongside Alistair Mann.
Welcome back to the Etihad. Thank you, Ellen. Well, the first half statistics are quite extraordinary, really. 76% possession, 19 attempts, 6 of them on target. Luton have had none. The reality is that they will be absolutely thrilled to be only 1-0 down at half-time, and it was an own goal as well, and a pretty unfortunate one at that. A Haaland volley that was going wide, hit Hashioka in the face and span in beyond Kaminski. Let's not get carried away with talk of goal difference and that kind of thing. First things first, City need to win this football match. They haven't done it yet, that is a fact. The sun just begins to creep out from what had been a slate grey sky. And the reality is that everyone is expecting City to grab a second goal and then